Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. So today I'm setting up my bullet journal for April, and I'm not sure why, but I had such a hard time this month, not only with coming up with a theme, but also with just executing it. So I wanted to include that because I just want to be honest about my experience and my struggles. I think I just had some kind of creative block, but I did really like the end result. It just took a little bit longer. Here's a quick look at my last spreads from March, and I was really happy with them. I loved how they turned out, and I also really enjoyed using them. The day I was filming this was in the second to last week of March on a Saturday, but I was super busy because I just moved out of my student apartment. So there was just a lot of stuff to do, and that's why this video is going to be posted a little bit later than my usual ones. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and let's get into it. I actually started the cover page 2 separate times while filming this, and I didn't like either one of them, which might have just been me being too perfectionist, but I just really didn't feel happy with them, so I decided to start over again. For my final attempt at my cover page, I wanted to draw 2 overlapping circles as a background, but when I just draw them like straight onto the page, they tend to be a bit uneven, so I decided to just color in an area on a separate piece of paper and then cut out a circle out of it. I recently bought this circle cutter, mainly just for my stickers, but I also used it in this setup. So you just secure your paper on a cutting surface, and then you can adjust the diameter of the circle you want to cut out, and then you kind of turn the middle portion of it, and that's how you cut out a circle. I hope that makes sense, but you could obviously also just use some scissors. In my second attempt on this cover page, I had also placed the circles too far up on the top, and then the spacing just kind of felt off. So this time I made sure that they would be nice and centered, and then I used a glue roller to paste them onto the page. Next I sketched out where I wanted to draw the tulip and the title, so that's actually the theme I ended up settling on. I kind of forgot to mention that in the beginning, but I ended up going for a pretty simple theme once again, which was probably a good choice because I had gotten my 3rd vaccination the day before filming this, so I was feeling a little bit exhausted. But yeah, for the tulip I used my Tombow Fudenosuke to give the lines a little bit of variation in the thickness, and then I switched to my Muji gel pen for the title because I feel like it gives me a little bit more control when I'm writing. And I also thickened up some of the lines to give it a bit more of a calligraphy-esque look. I also filled in the empty space with a bunch of little stars and dots, which is kind of based on the design principle big, medium, small. And if you haven't heard of it, it basically just means that including shapes of different sizes makes a layout look a little bit more balanced and interesting. So in this case, the circles in the background would be the big shapes, the title and the tulip are kind of medium-sized, and then the little doodles are the small ones. And I think I usually follow this rule subconsciously, but it's just something useful to keep in mind. To finish off the cover page, I also added a thicker border in the darker pink shade, and then a thinner one on the inside with the light like peachy shade. I also forgot to mention this in the intro, but I'm using 2 of the Ohuhu markers again, like in my last video, and I just thought they were really fitting for this theme. The right page is, as always, dedicated to my monthly planning sections. I did switch up the arrangement a little bit because I was getting a little bit bored of seeing the same layout every month. I drew a little circle alternating between the 2 colors for the titles, and this will also be a running theme all throughout the setup. I also ended up drawing the border in alternating colors because I didn't want them to be too dark, so I used the thinner fine liner tip of the 2 markers. My sections for this month are for my events, freelance work, my YouTube and Instagram trackers, priorities, and then just my Etsy shop goals. And once again, I wrote the titles with my Muji gel pen. For the lettering, I went for this kind of simple loopy style, which is pretty close to my handwriting, just a lot cleaner, so it doesn't take too much time or effort. I also left a bit of space at the bottom right to add another doodle, so that the two pages would tighten together nicely. To draw the doodle at the bottom and for the rest of the setup, I didn't cut out any more circles like I did for the cover page, but just used the marker straight on the page because the circles aren't really that big, which makes it a lot easier to make them look even, so I didn't really feel the need to go through the whole process. To finish up the spread, I also added these little stars to the sections, which is something I like to do a lot because it kind of breaks up the symmetry a little bit, and again just ties them in with the rest of the theme. I'm really glad I ended up redoing my cover page because I think it turned out really cute this time. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next pages. The left page is for my habits as per usual, so nothing much has changed here. For the title, I wanted to incorporate more of the circles and just keep it pretty simple overall. So I didn't draw any more tulips, but just wrote the title in black and added some more little doodles. This time I placed my daily habit trackers on the left side of the page so that I could fill in the rest with more tulips, and I again alternate between the two colors. I always just love the way this looks, so I'm going for my usual mini calendars, and my habits for this month are stretching, learning Korean, journaling, doing my skincare, flossing, and drawing more. I wrote the habits in capital letters so that they kind of contrast the style of lettering I used for the rest of the titles, and underneath I'm writing the weekdays and then adding a border for the calendar. I kind of did the same thing as last month where I just make a rectangle and then cross out the days from March and May because I just think it makes it look a little bit more clean and it's also a bit more practical for me. Like I mentioned, I wanted to fill the empty space on the right with more tulips, so I sketched out the placement first so that I could kind of get a feel for the layout, and then used the two markers and my Tombow Fudenosuke again, just like before. I tried to make sure that the circles wouldn't look too symmetric and instead a bit more random because I thought it would be a nice contrast to the clean lines. I also drew some little leaves here and there because the tiny stars and the dots can end up looking a little bit too chaotic, so I wanted to have another element that was a little bit bigger, if that makes sense. On the bottom section, I added my weekly habits and I wrote them with pencil first so that I know where to color in the background for the titles. And again, I'm alternating between the two colors, and I also added 5 circles on the left for each habit so that I can fill them in each week. To keep things consistent, I went with the capital letters again for the actual habits and just wrote each letter in one of the dot grid spaces. Now this month I didn't include my expense tracker like last month because I noticed that I didn't really enjoy using it, so I decided to do something completely different because I'm actually going on a trip to Paris with one of my best friends, so I wanted to dedicate this page to it and just fill it with Polaroids and just kind of use it as a little memory page. I've never actually been to Paris, so I'm really excited for it. And just as a little side note, I did put my Etsy shop on hold for a little bit because I went to work on some new sticker designs for you guys and I thought about making a little video about it or something. So definitely let me know in the comments if that's something you would like to see. But anyway, I kept this page really simple as you can see, and I just added a border all around so that I have a lot of space to fill it with memories. And lastly, I just did my first weekly spread of April, and again I kept it pretty simple as always, so I'm starting off by adding a mini calendar on the top left side, And I did a pretty similar layout as for my first weekly spread of March. So the sections for the days are squares. I made them 11 spaces tall and 11 spaces wide. I kept the style of the weekdays pretty similar to the ones that I did for my monthly sections, so that there's a consistent style all throughout the setup. And again, I'm starting off with a little circle on the top left of each day and then adding a border alternating between the two colors. I ended up placing Monday through Friday on the left page and Saturday and Sunday on the right, and I wrote the titles in that same kind of handwriting font that I was using before, but I did leave the circles empty because I wanted to use them for the dates. In every right lower corner, I added 2 little circles and then 2 tiny stars on top of them, again just to incorporate the theme. I decided to write week 1 and April above and below the mini calendar to just kind of fill in the empty space, and then I also added 2 tulips on each side as well. Here I'm doing the same exact thing for the last 2 weekdays, and then I also wrote the date in the little circles like I mentioned. Since I only wanted to add 3 more sections, I thought I would fill some of the space with a quote. So I decided on "Everyone grows at their own pace," which I thought was really fitting for this theme, but also for me personally. I think sometimes it can seem like you're kind of behind in life in some way, but you just have to remind yourself that it's never actually too late to learn something new or to work on yourself. And lastly, here I'm adding some more sections. I made a larger one for my priorities and 2 small ones for my goals and for the next week. And yeah, that concludes my April setup. I hope you enjoyed watching, even though the start was a bit of a mess, but I just didn't want to cut it out or something because I think it's important to be transparent about making mistakes and everything. So yeah, here's a little flip through. I think the color palette fits really well for April. I always did a cherry blossom theme for this month, but I wanted to switch things up a little bit for this one, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm really excited for my trip to Paris and to fill this page with lots of new memories, so I'll keep you guys updated and I will probably share it on Instagram. And yeah, I think the spreads ended up really cute, and I especially like the weekly spread. So definitely let me know which one is your favorite page and what kind of themes you would like to see me do next. And yeah, thank you guys for watching as always, and I hope I'll see you again next time. Bye!